I'm Thom Bateman, and today we are going to make a wood-fired shepherd's pie. So first thing we're going to do is get this pan nice and warm in the dome. So today we're cooking with wood. You could use gas for this, same process. It's just I enjoy the wood for this particularly. While we're waiting for the pan to heat up, we're going to get the veg nice and prepped. So we're going to peel these carrots. We've got some celery and some onion. We're just going to dice that as evenly as we can. Don't throw these away. Use these. You can either make like little crisps out of them. I'm dropping them. It's not for dramatic effect. Or keep them, put them in a freezer bag when you're going to make veg stock, beef stock, chicken stock, free veg to use in your stocks. Celery chopping trick. Flatten it. Again, keep this bit for stock. Stock. So we've got a diced celery, onion and carrot ready to go. Pan is nice and hot. You're going to add just a little drizzle of oil just to get things moving before we add our minced lamb. Reassuring sizzle. You want to build up that caramelization, which is where all the flavour is. Breaking that mince up. Don't want big clumps of mince. You could use a potato masher for this if you want. When you're making something like this in such a high temperature as the dome, you just need to be aware of the heat and just use that residual heat. Keep that temperature under control. So I'm just breaking this up and then I'm going to put it back into the dome because we want a nice browning on that lamb. Salt, pepper. So you want to build up the layers of seasoning. You don't want to just cook everything and wait right until the end and just whack a load of salt in. That's not the best way. The best way is to build it up, build the layers of flavour through the seasoning, bit at a time. Pop that back in. Okay, so that is now nicely browned. You can see that caramelisation on there. That's all flavour, and that's what we're after. I'm now going to pull this into a separate bowl. Use the same pan and all that residual lamb fat to cook the vegetables. All those veggies go into there, well, most of them. So that just starts to tick away in that lamb fat. Another little pinch of salt, another little bit of pepper, building up those layers of flavour. I'm just going to soften that off a little bit, go back in the dome just to get it going again. So those vegetables nicely softened there. Then we're going to add some tomato puree. We want to just cook that out for 2 or 3 minutes before adding anything else. Just take that sort of raw edge off that tomato puree. If you just whack everything else in there now, it just won't be right. You need to give it at least 2 minutes, I'd say. There's plenty of heat in that pan. Okay, so then bay leaves, rosemary and thyme. Now that tomato puree's had time to cook down. We're going to go in with a nice light red wine, nothing too heavy. Something like a Pinot Noir or a Burgundy would be good as well. Just going to pop that back in the dome, let that cook out for a couple of minutes. Okay, so that wine's been in there for a couple of minutes, had a chance to just cook down a little bit, just to take the edge off that alcohol. Then we are going to grate some garlic, because you don't want big lumps of garlic in your shepherd's pie. Lamb goes back in. Some lamb stock. The better your stock, the better your dish. Worcestershire sauce. And stir all that together. Then we're going to pop it back into the dome, just like tick away and reduce so it thickens up nicely. Also, common misconception with mince that like it should be cooked quickly. That's not necessarily the case. But if you think about it, it's all the slow cuts minced down, so it should be cooked for a long time. So that's gone back into the dome now. We're just going to let that tick away and reduce. It should take around 25 minutes, half an hour, just to get to a nice consistency ready to build the pie. For the best shepherd's pie, you want the best mash as the topping. In my opinion, this is the best way to make mashed potatoes, and it's actually much more simple than it appears. So all you got to do really is bake the potatoes first. So these are Maris Piper and they've just been baked in the oven until they're tender. So what that's going to do is intensify the sugars in the potato, make them taste more potatoey, essentially, rather than boil them. You can boil them in stock, which also works quite nicely, but for me, this is the best way of doing it. Cut those in half. Now they're still hot, you know, not to the point where it's taking my fingerprints off, but hot. So they go into a ricer and then into a bowl. Now what you're going to be left with is a little potato skin. Don't throw them away. Fry them, put salt on them, eat them. Delicious. Potatoes still hot. Cold diced butter. Put that in, bit at a time, and just start to work it through. Obviously the hot potato is going to melt that butter. Plenty of butter. So as all that butter is melted, it's almost got a bit of a sheen to it. Don't be worried about that. And what you do by using the ricer, you're not overworking the potatoes. So if you're mashing away, you're just going to potentially end up with gluey potatoes, which is not good. This milk is warm, promise. I'm just going to gently bring that together. Doesn't matter about it losing heat at this point because you're going to bake it in the oven after anyway. So what we end up with is incredibly smooth, stable mash. And then we're just going to enrich that with 1 egg yolk and some cheddar cheese. I've got a really nice, strong, sharp cheddar cheese here. If you use something that's sort of mild or medium, it's just, you might as well not bother. A little bit more. And that is good to go. It needs to be firm enough that it doesn't just sort of melt into what's below. Pinch the old salt. And that's done. Oh, God. That's heavy. So that is all nice and sticky and reduced now. So we are ready to build the pie. That's been in there for 30-35 minutes, just so it's nice and sticky. You want a bit of liquid, not too runny. All we need to do is really take out those whole herbs like the bay leaf. So sticks like that, because they're not too pleasant to eat. So we have our dish we're going to put back into the oven. Don't want messing about it really, just get it all in there. We transferred it to a smaller dish because we want that sort of nice thick sort of pie feel. Don't want it spread out too thin, so I'm just going to throw the mash on the board. All that mash on there. Spread all that mash around. Just want to seal those edges. Doesn't matter if it bubbles over on the side a little bit, that's totally fine. So when this goes back in to the dome, we're going to put it on a little tray, just because if it bubbles over, you don't want to mess up the floor of your dome. So I'm just using a fork to create a little roughness on the top, which is going to give you little crispy bits. Final touches before it goes back in, I'm going to use some little bits of butter. Just dot those around, because when is more butter a bad idea? And of course, more cheese. And that's now loaded up, ready to go. So we're going to get it on a tray into the dome just to crisp up that top. It should be ready to eat. So I'm just going to put this cast iron plate in there to sit underneath the pie, but you could just use any tray really, it's not going to make that much difference. The pie goes in. I'm going to give that 10 minutes and then I'm going to turn it round just so it's nice and even all the way through. So it's ready for a spin, so it's easier to take it out, turn it round and put it back in. So just literally spin it round and go back in the way you came. It'll be the opposite way. So we've had 25 minutes and it is ready to come out. I can hear it just sizzling away behind me, so I'm going to go grab it. So for one final touch, it's important to eat your greens. Just a few chives. This is my wood-fired shepherd's pie. For the full recipe, go to gozney.com. Oh dear. Looks absolutely filthy in all the right ways. Just get amongst this pie. That is some good pie. Come on, Rox, come and give this a try.
Hello everybody, I'm Rox and I'm going to try some pie. Which camera am I looking at?
Let's get into it.
Oh, I think that's a bit too much. Hold on. Don't look at me while I eat. There's a lot in that pie. It's 10/10. It's my review. Over and out.